Hello, I'm Arya, and today I'm going to show you a new type of crochet called Tunisian crochet. It's fairly different from the regular kind of crochet in that it really resembles knitting and it doesn't have stitches like a single crochet or a double crochet. However, it does start with the same kind of base chain that you would for regular kind of crochet. The key with this type of stitch is that your needle should be slightly larger than you would normally use, maybe maybe a millimeter thicker than you normally would use, and your stitches need to be fairly loose. This will help, you'll see why. Normally, for the regular kind of crochet, you would insert your hook into the stitch like so. For Tunisian crochet, turn your chain over. That should be in focus. Turn your chain over and look at these bumps that exist at the back of your stitch instead of these. Look at the bumps. These are what you will be using. This counts as 1, the loop on your hook. Insert your needle into the first bump behind your first stitch. So, like that. This can be fairly tricky, the first row. Yarn over and pull up a loop. Go into the next one. This is the back of your foundation chain. Insert your hook under this bump, yarn over and pull up a loop. Next, insert it below this bump, yarn over and pull up a loop. Keep going until the end of the row where you should have a number of loops on your hook. Make sure that the loops that you pull up are fairly large and loose. They shouldn't be too tight and should move back and forth on the needle like this. Take care not to forget this last stitch, although it can be quite easy to forget. Pick up this the last bump, which is behind the stitch. Only the bump, not the actual V shape in front. Yarn over and pull up a loop. Now starts the real part of the stitch. Yarn over and pull through the first loop. Yarn over and now pull through 2 loops at once, like so. And again, yarn over and 2 loops. Yarn over, 2 loops. Remember, these stitches also have to be quite loose. 2 loops. Yarn over and pull through 2 loops. And keep going until you have finished all the loops. And the last 2, like so. You should now have something that looks like this. Now, insert your hook behind the first of these vertical bars. There's one here, there's one here, one here. So each loop that you made earlier has now become a vertical bar. Take a moment to identify these. Insert your hook beneath the first bar, like so. Yarn over and pull up a loop the way you did before. Again into the next one, yarn over and pull up a loop. Insert behind the bar, yarn over and pull up a loop. Again, insert, yarn over, pull up a loop until the end of your row. I'm now at the end of the row, and the last stitch is a little special. So instead of just taking this vertical bar in front, turn your work to the side and notice that there's something that looks like your regular chain stitch over here. You're going to put the needle underneath both of these. So like this. These are the two loops of that vertical chain stitch. Yarn over and pull through both. So now you have this row of loops. Pause at this moment and take stock of whether it's difficult to move your loops on your hook. If you're doing a 6-inch square, it's likely that it will get very difficult, especially if you have a regular needle that has this kind of place for you to hold it easily. Or alternatively, if you have this kind of needle. To solve this problem, what you could do is start over, and instead of making a 6-inch square, make 4 3-inch squares, and I'll show you how to combine those later. If you're able to do 6 inches worth of stitches on one needle, you can continue as before. For those going to a 3-inch by 3-inch square, you can follow the same steps, just make fewer stitches. Okay, to continue, yarn over, pull through one loop as you did before, yarn over, and now pull through 2 loops. Repeat until the end. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Yarn over, 2 loops. Yarn over, 2 loops again. Yarn over, 2 loops until you reach the end of the row. Should give you something that looks like this. Notice that these vertical bars align with the next row of vertical bars. By the end, you should have an entire line formed by all the vertical bars in each column. And look at the row. It looks like there's a chain that's been pulled through several vertical bars. Keep going until your work is as long or tall as you want it to be. If it's 3 inches by 3 inches, that would be 3 inches tall. 6 by 6, that would be 6 inches tall. Once you get there, I'll show you how to complete the final row. Come back to the video then. Now I'll be doing my last row for this piece. You can see an incomplete row here that still has open squares, and I will show you how to convert this to a completed top row. Insert your hook behind the first bar as usual, yarn over, and pull up a loop. Now instead of going to the next bar, pull this second loop through your first loop, like so. I'll show you again on the next bar. Insert below the bar, yarn over, pull up a loop, and pull your second loop through your first loop, like so. And that's it. Below, yarn over, pull up a loop, and pull the second to the first. This gives you a nice clean edge instead of this. Remember not to pull this second loop very much. It should be roughly the same size as your first loop. If you pull it too much, that will cause the fabric to shrink, like that. Now for the final stitch, go behind this chain stitch like thing, yarn over, pull up a loop, and pull the second through the first. Now that you've done your final row, you can chain one and go ahead and cut the thread here. That should give you a nice finish. Note that for Tunisian crochet, each side has a clean looking finish, all four sides. Apologies, this is the fourth side. It's also likely that your fabric will curl up a bit. That's okay, tends to happen. You can roll it the other way and keep it like that for some time if you like. I will now show you how to combine two pieces of Tunisian crochet. So here I've got the original piece that I made and another one which is a little narrow. It doesn't matter. The point is that they both have to be roughly the same length. Preferably the same number of stitches on the edges that you plan to stitch together. If you're making a 3x3 square, or the 4 of those and stitching them together, make sure that you do the same number of stitches for each. To combine these, you will need a length of thread of preferably the same color as your squares. You can cut it at both ends, and you can use either a sewing needle or a thinner crochet needle. It doesn't really matter, whatever you prefer. I'll be using a crochet needle. Begin by inserting your hook into the corner of your piece over here, like so, and pulling this thread into the loop, like so. Yeah, that's in better focus. And pull until you've got a little tail at the end. This thread is what you are now going to use to stitch together join your 2 or 4 pieces of crochet. This now has to go into a corresponding stitch on your other piece over here. So take your crochet hook, insert it below this stitch, grab your thread and pull it in. Oops, that slipped. And pull it in. Yeah, there you go. These should be now joined at this one corner. The trick now is to combine this as though you're tying a shoelace. So this goes from above into this stitch. So insert your hook from below the stitch. And those of you who are familiar with stitching will see why this can also be done with a stitching needle or a sewing needle, whatever you prefer to call it. And you pull the yarn out through this. And then again, insert your hook through the bottom of this stitch over here on this piece. Grab the yarn, not the tail end, the main yarn, and pull through. Apologies, got a call. Pull through. Keep going until you reach the end. Insert it from above here and above here and above here and above here, and keep going till you reach the end. I'll see you at the end. Now to complete the joining of your 2 segments, this is mostly done. Grab the thread as it sticks out of your fabric at the moment. So this is, please ignore the others, those are just the ends. This one and the one on the other side, and pull them from either side. That should give you a smooth join, and make sure that the thread at the end is just stitched into the final loop over here. Sorry, insert your hook into this, grab the relevant thread. Make sure to keep track of these threads. Only you will be able to see which one is which. Grab it and pull it out through the end and tighten it a little. Once you're done with this, you can go ahead and weave all your threads into your fabric so that you don't get this kind of mess. This joining stitch was called a mattress stitch, which can be used with any kind of squares actually. And notice how the actual Tunisian crochet has these little vertical lines, which should all be exactly vertical, otherwise it means you've dropped a stitch somewhere if they go triangular, for example. Good luck with this new type of stitch.